Well, at this point, there is only really one solution, and that would go under the category of debt jubilee. These debts must simultaneously be scrubbed off the books. The bondholders must be paid the piper. They're going to take the massive losses.
That's what Ron Paul says we've got to do.
He's absolutely correct. And Jim Rickards, who's an excellent guy, you see him on TV often. I've interviewed him several times. He'll break it down for you as well. He's an excellent guest to consider for your show, Jim Rickards. He is of the same belief as well. And if you go throughout history, it's right there in the Bible. You know, the Bible itself talked about having a jubilee every period of time to purge the system of all the bad debts.
Yeah, every 10 years. And again, these idiots that say, you've got to prop it up, we've got to fix the system. What's the magnitude? Because some say it's 100 times, some say 200 times. The derivatives magnitude versus real assets. I mean, there's no paying off a black hole. The more solar systems you feed into it, the bigger it gets.
Well, the global GDP of the world is about 50 trillion, and the global derivative market is 600 trillion. So that's your ratio right there. It's over 10 to 1 of faulty, bad derivatives to the GDP of the country, of the world.
So you disagree with the analysis that it's 1.5 quadrillion?
Well, there's two numbers here. One is the market size, which is the actual buying and selling of derivatives, which is 1.5 quadrillion. Then there's the underlying value of the underlying securities themselves, which is approximately 600 trillion. Then some people will say, well, these are completely matched. Therefore, the liability is not that great, but that assumes that a counterparty like J.P. Morgan is solvent. And that's where people like myself and others point out that, wait a minute, you can't really assume that J.P. Morgan is solvent because they have 90 trillion of these bad debts on their books, and they're not solvent. Therefore, you must use that value of 600 trillion as the liability. You can't assume that these are going to be offset in some way. And the trading of these derivatives is over a quadrillion, and that's where the bankers make their fees. They trade these every single day. You know that there's over $4 trillion worth of Forex or, currency trades every single day. So the entire capitalization of America turns over, 14 trillion. That turns over every 3 or 4 days. The entire capitalization of America spins every week.
And they're all in there getting fees on selling zombie garbage back and forth.
They're buying and selling America every week for a fee, and the little businessman out there who's trying to scrape by selling widgets for a 50% markup is trying to compete for it to make his $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 a year. He's competing with the bankers that are in the $1.5 quadrillion market where they're spinning his entire country.
And now the bankers are saying, raise the taxes to pay us more bailout money on the little guy on the street. It is just incredible. I meant to get to Stan and Joe and Mark, and I really want to get to them, but we're just out of time. I apologize to the callers because I've got Dr. Bob Bowman coming up, and I can't do overdrive because I'm on TV today, but we'll see what happens. Before the callers all hang up, let me think about it during the break and figure out what we're going to do here. Gosh, I tell you, we're in a race here. Max, we either educate the public and the public takes some interest in this and really get angry and say no to these people, or we have no future. But I think at the end of the day, the good news is people are starting to get angry if establishment hacks to get elected, like Rick Perry are having to talk like Ron Paul. In the final equation, is that not a positive indicator, Max?
Well, Ron Paul gets it, and clearly he would be the guy who you would want to sort through this mess. But as we know in American political history, it seems that every time you get somebody who knows what they're talking about, even close to getting into office, there's a lot of problems suddenly that come from left field. Rick Perry,
Hold on, finish. Well, I could talk to Max all day. I could talk to callers all day. I could talk to our guests forever. I love doing this radio show. It's painful to know this stuff's happening, but it's even more painful to not have an avenue to confront these people. I can't imagine what it's like for people that are awake but who aren't out warning others. And I can't imagine what it's like for the general public that's still not aware of what's happening when they finally get hit by this. Max, you were making an interesting point about the New World Order during the break, and then on Rick Perry. Please finish.
Right. As we were saying, the penultimate step toward this New World Order, we're seeing it in Europe, the trans-European bond market that's going to report only to itself, okay? This plays into the Alex Jones New World Order thesis, and, going back 5 years, it seemed like it was an idea that was not on the radar, and, we talked about the debt jubilee concept, which is taken from the Bible. To use another Bible story, it's like that Noah and the Ark story. When Noah started to build the Ark, everyone thought he was crazy. Now, what we now know is that the Ark you've been building has been to protect us from the rising tide of debt. 40 days and 40 nights of bank closures of a bank holiday. That's what's coming. 40 days and 40 nights of a global bank holiday. And then the other end of this will be the New World Order, which will mean all the global currencies will be reset, like Bretton Woods Part 2. The dollar is going to take a 50 to 60% haircut down. Gold will be a lot higher, so will silver, and various other currencies will plug into the system in different ways. But that's now no longer off the radar. That's on the radar. Now it's happening. And it comes down to faith. As the Bible is full of allegories, Alex. I don't take the Bible literally. I see it as allegories that can be used. Don't let Rick Perry steal the Bible and use it to promote his evilness. The allegories can be used by anybody to promote anything. In this case, goodness. The Noah and the Ark story is a fantastic story as an allegory, as an analogy of what the problem is. There's a 40-day and 40-night bank holiday coming. We're building the Ark out of gold and silver, and you have to have faith.
Absolutely. Well, I do believe in God and intervening in the affairs of humankind if we ask God for guidance and also take action. But we are definitely in a very, very dangerous time right now. Max Keiser, max-keiser.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Anytime.